So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel where a brand new Easter egg has just been found on Black Ops 4 Zombies. However many days after this game came out, I don't know, I think it's like, I'll probably put it in the title or description, but 1,600 plus days after Voyage of Despair came out, which is the map this Easter egg was found on. That isn't surprising because Voyage of Despair has so many Easter eggs. I think this is probably the map with the most Easter eggs that have been solved within BO4 Zombies, and also still has a few that are unsolved. We know that for definite. In fact, just a couple of months ago and over the past few years since BO4 is released, we found multiple Easter eggs on Voyage of Despair, so it's no surprise that we found another. But what I like about this one is, even though it's a kind of cipher, this was the standard Easter egg in BO4 Zombies. Finding a piece of paper, it has a coded message on it. We have to decipher it, and it usually gives us a sentence or two. So normally it's just a piece of paper we find on the map, which isn't too interesting, but this Easter egg is interactable, and it does feel like it's been quite a while since we found one of them. So yeah, this is quite exciting, although for you storyline people, since the Chaos story has come to an end, the actual message itself, what it means, is meh. But anyway, this Easter egg was found by SkyTenit and Nanikos. I believe within the game files they noticed that one of the international maritime flags, which is these up on screen now, was somewhere in Voyage of Despair. If you take your minds back a couple of years now, one of these flags could be found as a part of another Easter egg, which involved us finding the Homunculus on an iceberg in the distance, and near him was one of these flags. But it wasn't the exact same one that could be found within the game files, so that let them know that there must have been another. So, as you would, they went searching, and on the top deck, in a very dark corner, they noticed one of the flags. And when you shoot it, it spins, and it brings up another. So the international maritime flags or code flags are used to give messages to other people, whether it be a different ship or somebody else on land. Each flag corresponds to either a letter or a word, a substitute, or a meaning such as answer. So what they did on Voyage is they shot the maritime flags, and for every one you shoot, it reveals another, and it spins a total of 78 times, and when you match each flag to its corresponding letter, of course, eventually, it makes a sentence. So this flag matches up with Y, you shoot it, it spins, it reveals the next flag which matches up with the letter O, you shoot it again, it spins, the next flag matches up with the letter U, which reveals the word you. You then shoot it again, the next flag that comes around matches up with the word T, and so on, and when you do all of that, eventually you get this phrase. You travelled the world to state your thirst for violence. You return to Mexico still parched. Now, who is the only character in the Chaos Zombies story who is violent, who has a thirst for violence? That would be Bruno, so this cipher or code is talking about him. And as Rich Killer pointed out, this matches up with yet another Easter egg we found on Voyage of Despair, which is this note you can see up on screen now, where we have drawings of the artifacts and notes. It says, mind and body separated across Earth, lock mechanism, how does it work? Artifact at London Museum of Natural History is being moved to America next year, need date for when? Possibly April. And at the bottom it says, this is quite difficult to read, mind piece found in Mexico. Mr. Necalli willing to meet. Necalli, of course, being Diego Necalli. Godfrey, who we know is Alistair's butler, has set travel arrangements. I can't remember all of the Chaos Zombies story off the top of my head, but one thing I will say is, being 100% honest, this new Easter egg or this old note we found on Voyage, or many of the Easter eggs we found in Voyage of Despair, and a lot of the other Chaos maps, really aren't that interesting. Yes, now that it's been found thousands of days later, it's definitely not interesting. We've seen ciphers from the Ether story that people love, that have been solved years later, that gets me excited. But a lot of the ones in the Chaos story, such as this or many other ciphers, are pretty dull. Even when they were being found when the game was relevant, during its life cycle, I was like, okay, what's the point of this? You've added this really cool Easter egg into the game, yet you've given us a pretty boring message here. Treyarch could write pretty much anything as long as it still relates to the story to get us excited, yet we get this boring message telling us that Bruno is still thirsty for violence and he's travelled to Mexico still parched. Okay, great. Why did I really need to know that? It's not an important message or an exciting one, and there are a lot of these in Voyage and BO4 Zombies altogether, which was a shame because if you compare them to ciphers we found in BO3 or older games, or even newer ones, Cold War, not Vanguard, there's some great ones, but a lot of them in this game weren't, to be honest. I think Treyarch were trying to move away from ciphers, but there were still tons in the game. I don't know, I just feel like with the messages themselves, Treyarch could have made them more exciting. Like I said, there are still quite a few Easter eggs to find in Voyage of Despair. We know that because we've got the start of them, we just don't have to finish. And also, in the game files, you can see that there are Easter eggs that have been undiscovered. We just don't know how to finish them, which is always a shame because Black Ops 4 Zombies isn't dead, but it's definitely not active anymore if you look at the player count and the interest. I've always said with ciphers especially, but even smaller Easter eggs, years after they've come out, I feel like a lot of them are never going to get solved, so Treyarch may as well just come out and give us a little hint, maybe once every year if they just helped us to solve at least one cipher or one Easter egg. That'd be cool, that'd be a nice thing for the community and it wouldn't ruin anything. And the very last thing I will say is, even though I've seen a lot of people saying that this message doesn't matter at all anymore because the Chaos story is over, whereas if we found some old Ether messages, they are still relevant in a way because the Dark Ether story is a continuation of the Ether story. We still have Richtofen and Samantha, although they're different versions. Oop, dropped my pen. But people would say Chaos messages like this just don't matter because the story is over. However, as we saw in Vanguard and Shi No Numa, Professor Kraft mentions Alistair.
It reminds me of when I studied the writings of Alistair Rhodes, an amateur demonologist and personal hero of mine. Rhodes wrote about different objects of power that he called sentinel artifacts, but I was never able to find out exactly what they were. Nevertheless, if we can find the relic we seek at Shi No Numa, I am quite certain I can use it on Von List and trap Kortifex in that little scepter of his.
In Vanguard, Treyarch decided to merge the Chaos story with the Dark Ether story. So now that Chaos is a part of Dark Ether, it was a part of Vanguard, and more than likely it's going to be a part of our next game now then. That means that Chaos is relevant again. I don't think we're ever going to actually play as the Chaos characters or have a game that directly tells the Chaos story, but what I think Treyarch could do is continue to tell the Ether story, continue to tell us what happened after Ancient Evil through radios we find in the Dark Ether story. Maybe that's something we'll see in their next game in 2024, which makes ciphers like this and Easter eggs still relevant. Just not interesting. And as far as Chaos goes, that's something I would love to see because it just still doesn't feel like that it ended on a cliffhanger without a conclusion. And in my opinion, he was just really getting interesting as well, seeing the Oracle reveal herself as Medusa, trying to unlock the secrets of the Library of Alexandria. Mythology is super interesting to me. I don't think it got off to a great start. This map, Voyage, was okay. 9 was good. Dead of the Night was a little bit hit and miss. It wasn't too interesting to me story-wise, but the final one, Ancient Evil, is where I think it was really ramping up. So we had that massive cliffhanger. I was super excited to see where we were going to go next with this story because we were all expecting it. The Chaos story was supposed to continue, but was cut off, and instead what we got was a reboot of the Ether story, being the Dark Ether. There was supposed to be a year 2 of BO4 Zombies, which would have continued the Chaos story. That never happened, and I don't think ever will, but maybe this is how Treyarch could continue the Chaos story, and at least try to give it the ending it deserved. So anyway, there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.